Scott, it's a lovely sunny morning here at Firhill. It's good to get a little bit of a catch up. First, let's just start with the last 16 months. The pandemic has affected the entire world. How has it affected the Thistle Weir Youth Academy, and how have you thrived through it?
It was a challenging time, I think, for everybody in society, you know, and young players and their families were no different in that respect. What we tried to do was, over the period, was we switched a lot of our work to online using technology. The young players, we said to them that it was a good opportunity to start focusing on themselves, you know, looking at their self-management, you know, what they do individually as players, working on their physical capabilities, and giving them as much support as we could. It was a challenge because obviously the coaches couldn't coach, the support staff couldn't support our players as well. People were on furlough. For a long period it was just myself, and then I was able to get Ryan McCann and Craig Mayer and Joe Malcolmson back in, and they were great, and the four of us just trying to kind of keep everyone ticking over. And you know, really proud of the young players, because when they have come back from March, I think it was, the performance levels across different age groups has been excellent, and we're really proud of a lot of the players and how they've handled it. And I think a lot of them have come back in a better place now. And the thing for me over the last 3 years in this role was to try, I'm always keen to try and get the players to take responsibility for their own development in some aspects, with support from us. And I think in some respects the pandemic's helped us with that. And I see young players now that are more aware of their own development and putting more time into their own development, which for us as coaches as well is a big help, that they're doing extra work away from football, and they're getting the benefits from it. So a lot of positives. Really tough time, but I think we're now at the sort of back end of it in a positive way.
The resilience shown by every young player in the Thistle Youth Academy has been really impressive to see. Because you've got to remember, these guys are essentially training for the skills for what's going to be their career. I've done training, I went to university. I don't think I could have done it with a year of not having structural learning and someone to show me the skills. I dare say for yourself as a coach, when you went through all the coaching badges, you couldn't have did it for a year without having the chance to practice the skills over and over. Aye. So I think the resilience that these young men have shown has just been incredible. Oh,
it's incredible. I was saying through the lockdown to the boys that when I was playing in the lower leagues of Scottish football, I remember playing with East Stirling and stuff, and I had problems with my pelvis at the time, and then I stopped for a period, and then trying to get back, as anybody who's been injured as a player will tell you, it can be tough. And what I said to the players through the lockdown, they had to take the mindset that it's a long-term injury effectively. You know, it's almost like a rehab programme. You know, step one, physically make sure that you're keeping yourself ticking over. Nutrition, we had the nutritionist speaking to them as well about making sure that they were cooking their meals, taking responsibility for things like that as well. But staying focused, that's the hardest bit, and that was the hardest bit for a lot of players, was to keep their focus and become resilient and overcome setbacks. And I mean, even now I'm saying to young players that throughout their life in football, if that's what they're going to be, footballers, they're going to be faced with resilience every weekend, you know, and you know, it's challenging situations, and you have to be resilient. So there's a lot of good learning, I think, through the pandemic. And that's certainly the approach that we took, was to try and say that use this as a learning experience that will help your development further down the line. And as I say, the signs at the moment, I think we're in a good place now, so the signs are pretty good.
And the opportunities presented as well were incredible, because I think it was every second week or so you had a new footballing guest almost in. It was almost as if you were hosting your own talk show, and you had a celebrity footballer in, or just a hard-working footballer, someone that they've really to learn from their experience, and just learn from them as to how they can sort of take it from being the football coach, being a football parent, to taking a bit more responsibility within yourself.
Aye, the guys were great. You know, we used the contact book and we exhausted it a bit, but I was really pleased. Guys like, I say, Kevin Nisbet, I would like to mention Kevin. Obviously he was one of our academy players. He made his professional debut at this club and came through here. He was unfortunate obviously after the relegation, but Kevin's the first person to say that, you know, he thinks he could have worked harder when he was here, and he's now kicked on. The penny dropped obviously when he didn't have a club, but he was brilliant. He came on and spoke to the players and saying about how they should take the opportunities that are here, and I think it was great for the young kids to hear that. You know, it's like sometimes there's things out there that we let them go and all that stuff. It wasn't, you know, it was Kevin didn't work hard enough when he had the opportunity here, and he knows that himself, and it was good for the young players to hear that, and it's good for us now to reference that and say, look, well, Kevin was telling you to work hard, so a good example. Other players that I've worked with in the past at other clubs came on as well. Big Declan Gallagher, national team players, John McGinn, Billy Gilmore, these types of guys were coming on, and they're current, and they were fantastic with keeping the boys on track, and you know, giving them wee goals and telling them about their pathway, and I think that really helped. So again, as I say, the boys have come back in and they've been fantastic across the age groups, and I do think that a lot of the advice and support that people for the football community gave us was was really welcomed by us as an academy, and it's great that we've got these people out there that are willing to support our players as well.
You mentioned Kevin Nisbet there, a player that came through the academy, made his debut for Thistle, and okay, his footballing journey's taken him on to somewhere new, but I imagine there was a great amount of pride within the academy when you saw him playing for Scotland at the Euros.
Aye, on a personal level, because Kevin didn't have a club before he came to us. Kevin had been, I think it was Hibs he was at when he was younger, and when I was first introduced to him, was introduced as a centre back or a centre midfielder. That's where he'd been playing with Hibs, and I brought him over to Lock-Inch one day. It was actually through his mum. His mum had said, "Can we help him out?" I took him over, we did individual stuff for him one day, and could see right away he was a natural finisher. And then bringing him in, said to Jerry Britton, "We need to get this kid in," you know. And he obviously progressed through the development squads. Everybody could see his talent, but he just didn't work at it. You know, that was the bit for him. And for all young players, you know, if you've got the talent, work hard at it. And Kevin could have, you know, played so many games here and accelerated his development at a younger age. But very proud because he was at a point where he could have gone either way, you know, and he was lucky that he's got good people around about him, and obviously he's got his brother's a personal trainer and stuff, and helped him out when he didn't have a club again, and then Rafe gave him the opportunity. And, you know, so delighted with him. We're very proud of him. You know, we're very, very proud of all our players, wherever they end up in Scottish football, down south, wherever they go. Anybody that we've worked with and we've trained, we want them to do well. Whether it's obviously here first and foremost, we want them to do well here. But if they go out and make a football career of it, then we're proud of them. Personally, I was delighted to see him at the Euros. You know, his journey's continuing, which is good to see.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on, well, Kevin might be the high-profile example. There are alumni from the academy that are playing Premiership, Championship, wherever they play throughout Scotland, enjoying professional football and enjoying it based on the skills learned within the Thistle Weir Academy. Aye,
obviously we want them here. You know, that's the first thing. We want all the ones we're working with just now. We've got a lot of talent coming through now, I think, and we want them out in this pitch. And the biggest thing that I would say is that the manager here now is fantastic. He's been absolutely fantastic with us and so enthusiastic coming to the games, and you know, the way that we've got the boys playing now, we try to play good football, and I think he's enjoying coming to watch the games, and he's seen a lot of talent. So the pathway's here for the boys, you know, the opportunities are here for the boys. I think guys like Kyle Turner as well that we had at youth level. Kyle was unfortunate when he was here because there was a lot of players at first team level when we were in the Scottish Premiership in his position. Pathway was maybe a bit busy at that point. But he went out and he played games. You know, he went away to Stranraer, and it's been the right thing for him. And I'm absolutely buzzing to see him back. You know, he's somebody that I recommended here and signed here and recommended. To see him back and being part of the first team is fantastic, because I think he's a top player, and he's still a young age and he's got potential. So, and there's many more, as you say, out there. But first and foremost, we want to see them on this pitch. That's the priority for us. And as I say, we'll be proud of them if they're here, but anywhere in football as well.
And to get onto the Firhill turf, they've got to go through the entire academy process, and that's one where all the hard work really starts at a younger age before being polished off towards the end. Is that fair to say? Yeah,
definitely. It's been a long we always saw it as a long-term project, this academy, and we wanted to get it to a point, certainly when I took this role, I think it was 3 years ago now, we wanted to get to the point where we had the teams loaded up with good characters first and foremost. I'll never recommend, I've said this to the boys and the parents, I'll never recommend a boy to the manager that's not the right type of character now. They need to be good characters first and foremost. They need to be able to handle the ball in the right way. They need to be physically ready to play. But one of the biggest things that we've tried to change in the last few years is we want 14-year-olds comfortable playing against 16-year-olds, 16-year-olds comfortable against 18-year-olds, 18-year-olds comfortable against men, because that's from the age of 16 onwards. If you're going to be a footballer, you're playing against older players throughout your whole career. So that's what we've tried to do, and I think that we're on the right path with it. And again, for me, that's something that's rewarding for us as a staff team, because we think we've got the teams now loaded up. The guys that work, the coaches, the scouts, you know, that are out in the community do a fantastic job for us all the way through, and we've now got players like the young Xander McKenzie getting a wee taste it there. He's got a long pathway in front of him still to get before he's ready for the first team. But their journey started when they were 8, 9, 10 years old with us, so we're very proud again to see boys at 15, 16, 17, 18 now just getting prepped up and ready to go. And now we've created the opportunities there. I think we've got the structure there. It's now about them over the next couple of seasons champing the manager's door and saying that they're good enough and ready for it.
I think there was about a dozen players from the academy that went in and trained with the first team at the start of pre-season. 8 or 9 of them made their appearances in friendlies, like the likes of Xander McKenzie, Jai Stevenson, Matthew Docherty, Oliver Plack, Greg Harrowa. They all came and played in friendlies. They're all still very young, but does that help sort of establish and show the pathway that is available here at Partick Thistle?
I go back to the manager. You know, for me, you know, he didn't have to take the boys in. You know, I've got a great relationship with him. I think, you know, we meet on a regular basis. He takes interest in what's there. You know, the talent's always there, but you need the figurehead of the club to know that the talent's there. And the manager's been absolutely different class with the boys. I think the first team staff as well, you know, they've been great with the players when they've gone in, and the senior pros as well. Now there's good characters about this club now at the top end of the pathway, and that helps the young players. You know, when they're going in, some of them go in at the first, you know, 15, 16, they're going in and it's a new environment for them, and what they see they will become. And if it's a negative environment, they'll become negative players. If it's a positive environment with good professionals, then they'll become positive players, you know, ultimately good professionals. And I think that this club's got that now, you know. And I can't speak highly enough of Ian McCall and what he's doing just now. And there's a chance. I speak to the heads of academy obviously on a regular basis around the country, and the biggest frustration that a lot of the guys have got is the relationship with the manager. You know, because the manager's not giving their players a chance. But I mean, Ian's been very vocal about, you know, if they're good enough, he'll play them, and he's shown that this pre-season as well. And I think it's given all the young players something to aim for now, and it makes your job easier as well, which is a bonus as well. So it's all good. And
it just gives that little taste, because as we mentioned, a couple of those guys, they're 15. You know, they're clearly not ready for regular first team football yet, but it gives them a taste of being in and training in that professional environment and going and getting on that pitch against East Kilbride or Kelly Hearts or even Rangers, to go and get that experience so that they come back into work within, I think it's under 17s or under 18s?
Under 18s now, aye, some of them, yeah.
And then just know that they have to keep working hard to go and get that opportunity back in.
We played St Johnstone yesterday, as an example. We feel in Scotland you've got the Project Brave system that came in, and the academy football finishes at under 18s, and there's a massive gap between under 18s and first team football. And it's been well documented with Rangers and Celtic wanting the Colts teams and things like that. But we're the same, you know, we've got a gap there, and we have our own bespoke programme now that we're putting in place this season. And we played St Johnstone yesterday, and I was talking to Xander McKenzie and Jai Stevenson about the Rangers game, for example, and it's funny, you know, like, Xander's like, you know, the speed of the game, you know, the way they pass the ball, it's such a challenge. And for us it's great to hear that, because as coaches, sometimes I feel as if I'm repeating myself, you know, do things quickly, be on it, because we know what they need to get to the next level, but they might be like, here he goes again kind of thing. So for us, when the boys actually experience it themselves, and now, like yesterday, saying, you know, even in warm-ups, you know, move the ball quickly, they're going, right, I know why, because that's what I need to do to be a first team player. So it's a massive help for us as coaches when they experience it themselves. And again, that's why I go back to the importance of the manager giving them an opportunity, because those players now coming back into the youth environment, the rest of the players are hungry because they want it now as well. They've had some of the pals have had a wee taste of it, they want it. And for us as coaches, we're saying now you know why we want standards, why we want high standards, because if you want to be a first team player, you've got to be on it. And I've seen the standard rise, and the training standards in particular, there's a lot of young hungry players there. So as I say, I think we're in a good place now.
So the under 18s team is almost like I would describe it as a finishing school after what has been the long academy process through youngsters. Can you just take us through like who's involved in the different levels and what you sort of look to do at every age group?
Yeah, so we've got, you know, one of the things we've tried to do is have the right people at the right stage of the pathway. We've got it's an aging stage kind of, I don't like using the word curriculum, but it's a programme that we put in place for the younger age groups. And we want to have the right people at the different ages and stages. So Craig Mayer, people run about Thistle know Craig. Craig's been, you know, we call him the MVP at the academy because he's such a valuable member of staff. He's fantastic with the young kids. He does a lot of work with the younger age groups. Then we had Joe Malcolmson, who's worked at the youth phase. He's been brilliant. Ryan McCann then works with the sort of professional development phase, which is your 16 plus. Ryan does, you know, some fantastic work with the players. His enthusiasm and his commitment to the academy has been phenomenal over a long period of time. So we're really fortunate that we've got good people leading different parts of the academy, and then the coaches, the part-time coaches. You know, we've got a good mix of people that are, you know, that are qualified coaches and they've got playing experience. But I've tried to put them at the right sort of stages of the pathway, and I think it's working. I'm biased, obviously, but I do think it's working. And then obviously now the bit for us this year moving forward, we do feel that the Club Academy Scotland system has a gap after under 18s. You call it a finishing school. For me, they're still kids, and you still need to find a way of getting them experience and getting games and everything else after under 18 football so that they're prepared for this. And that's a challenge for us now as a club. We're going to do our own thing at that stage to try and bridge that gap better towards first team football and ultimately get more players out on this pitch for the future.
And so once you've completed the academy process, the lucky players, I don't know if that's the right way to express it, but they get modern apprenticeships, and we're able to invite 4 new players into the club today: Gospel Chole, Billy Owens, Mason McCready and James Lyon. And they're all promising young players that the manager rates very highly, and then that's the balance where it goes over to the manager of whether you're keeping them in the first team squad or whether they're going to get valuable loan, because you need to go and play.
Yeah, that's it, and that's what I said, they've been fantastic as well, because for me, when they first came in, they were asking, right, what players can you send over to join our training sessions? And again, going back to our pathway, we want players that are technically able to handle the ball, they're physically can handle it, they're good characters and they're respectful to older players and staff. And we recommended James, Billy, Gospel and a few others as well, that maybe just fell a wee bit short, but fantastic for us to see that the feedback's coming back saying that these guys are, we see it, that they're good to go. So they've still got a long way ahead of them. I think watching me Billy, I think Billy's fantastic. I think he needs to get and play against men now. Billy's been with since he stays in the corner. He can probably walk to his house for here, which is great for us as well, that he's another local kid, but Billy needs to get and play against men regularly, I think, rather than sitting on the bench. James is obviously at Stenhousemuir, and the manager's documented how highly he rates James, and I think we all do. And Gospel as well needs to get that experience of playing against men. But getting back to the model that we've had, we've tried that with the players over a number of years now. We did it the same way in Fitzpatrick back in the day, pushed them up to play against older players so they're comfortable. And we want that bit, when you're 18, 19 now, get out and play against men. If you're not going to play regularly in the first team here, go on loan so you're ready to play first team at some point. And I think that's what will happen with the boys this year, and hopefully next year you'll see one or two of them coming back and being ready for the first team.
So as the world now starts to move back to something resembling normality, I think it'll be a while before we can have everything the way we want it again. What does the next 12 to 18 months look like for the academy and all the structures you've put in place over the last 16 months? Well,
for me, it's just great to have the players back first and foremost. I would like 12 months of this well, to be fair, as well. That'd be nice. But no, I think I've always seen the academy as a project, a long-term project, and building the infrastructure and getting the teams loaded up with good players and getting good staff in as well. And I think the project in that respect is complete, certainly from my perspective. And I think now over the next 2 years, it's about those players that we've got, the families that we've worked with. We've done a lot of education with families and the kids. It's now about them taking those opportunities. Anybody that says there's not an opportunity at this club don't know what they're talking about, because you've got, as I say, I keep raving about the manager and that, but the pathway's there for them, and it's up to them to take that opportunity now. And I know that if I was a young player and at this club and I see my pals at 15, 16 getting opportunities, and I would be saying, I want to work hard to if I want to be a footballer. So really, I think over the next 2 years now, the infrastructure's complete, shall we say. It's now up to the players to take their opportunities that are in front of them.
This might seem like a really daft question, but how big a boost does it make to go to those families and say, this is our pathway, you can see it happening right now, whereas other clubs across the UK maybe don't have that same opportunity when it's coming to the finishing end of it?
In this city, people won't see it. It's a challenging role that we've got. We're competing with other clubs, shall we say, that have got many resources and are awash with resources and facilities and everything else. And we punch above our weight at youth level. We compete with them, and that's what I'm proud of. When we go and we turn teams over at their own patch and stuff. I think that's important that the boys become winners as well. But you're right, it's a challenge, but the thing that we have got is a pathway to first team football. So if you're a young player and you want to play first team football, you want to get games under your belt at a young age, this is the club to do it, because you look at James Penrice as an example. Did they play over 100 games by the age of 21, 22? And the other ones, if they're good enough and they work hard enough, they'll do the same. I think James Lyon will come back next year and play games as well. As I say, the infrastructure's there now, and if young players do go, they do. We've lost a couple of players to other clubs in the past, and they're getting told that they're going to be Champions League players and all this kind of stuff. When they're 14, 15, and we'll see what happens with that. But I think it's important that you get first team games, and this club will give you that. And that's the biggest thing that I can say to our players and families. And I hope they see that. I know they see that. They must see it now when you see 15, 16-year-olds getting a chance. So as I keep saying, we're in a good place, and it's now up to the players to take the opportunities in front of them.
Scott, thanks very much for your time.
No worries.